This is Maintenance and Manufacturing Insights, hosted by Martin Engster, bringing you straight conversations with the people keeping machines running and production moving.
Hello, everybody. Back to the show. I am here, joined today with Lucas Richards. Why don't you introduce yourself, sir?
I'm Lucas Richards. I'm an associate manufacturing supervisor for Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories. Um, our company basically, we ensure that power infrastructure stays online. Um, we create and develop and implement the devices and technology used that maintains our power infrastructure. So anytime you cut on a light or you're watching this little podcast here, that's all possible because there's a lot of good people working to make sure that you get reliable power, and that's pretty much what our job is.
That's awesome. I was actually reading a thing not too long ago where they were discussing um, building some nuclear power plants or nuclear type power plants. Is that kind of the same
Mhm.
thing as what you guys? I mean, are you guys a power plant of sorts, or do you guys? I mean, do you have multiple, or how do you guys creating the power? I guess.
So we don't we create the machinery that monitors, controls, and
Okay.
protects like power systems. So you'll have like everybody's kind of driven by those transmission stations. You got all
Yeah.
those big things coming out, and then you got these little buildings, and in those buildings contains those are called control houses, and in
Right.
those buildings are a bunch of like ridiculously expensive devices that make sure that if there's interruption or if there's a problem that there's a fail switch, because it takes like you know a thousandth of a second for an interruption to completely cripple a grid. So
Wow.
one of the main functions of the devices we use is to make sure that we can switch um, this power source with the technology so that if there's a fluctuation, it compensates. We are able to kind of rectify it, and it cuts faults, make sure that no machinery is damaged, locks out machines. We have a wide array of devices, so it mostly comes to so me particularly, in the factory that I work in, we assemble the panels. So these
Okay.
panels are basically just huge boxes, crammed full of wires and different devices that have different purposes. So I recently learned something um, last week that our devices have a clock in it that is able to, make switches and, kind of control different other devices within the structure. And it's so precise that when you kind of scale it up to some of our competitors, like you can't even tell that there's a fluctuation in our timing. You're looking at pretty much a straight line all the way across, and then our leading competitor devices are like up down, and they still work really good, but we really pride ourselves in the fact that we go above and beyond to make sure that every device we put out has the most precise functioning possible.
Huh.
It's what we call our blue solution.
Okay. Wow. That's a trip. Yeah. I mean, the craziest thing and the reason why I love the show is just really getting to talk to different um people and what they do. I mean, stuff like that. You see it, but you don't know what's actually in there or what it does
Yeah.
or how it functions or any of those things. So it's always interesting to me to learn how things work and process and all that stuff. I mean, this is stuff that we literally rely on every single moment of our lives. I
Hmm.
mean, if you have a home, you've got power that goes to the home that regulates. I mean, you've got your own little, fuse box or whatever else, but
Hmm.
everything that goes from the outside comes to your home. I mean, you're on electricity all day, every day. So that's pretty. That's interesting to know that there's so much more involved behind there. So do you guys have like a set maintenance program for when you're doing your assembly lines, or how does your maintenance look at your company?
So for us, what we really pride ourselves on is um, world-class manufacturing. And one of the tenets of world-class manufacturing is that all employees, who are, we want to empower the employees to be able to fix work on their machines. So we don't, at least at my facility, we don't have an active maintenance team for devices, mostly because we really heavily rely on our operators. We give them the training. We make sure that their work instructions are clear and defined so that they have the ability to go in and work on their machines. If we have to bring in outside technicians, usually it's a pretty big deal, because we don't have large, CNC machines. We Part of our company does. So just kind of a little bit of context, SCL has, we have several facilities in the United States, Mexico, Brazil, just kind of all over the world.
Mhm.
We probably are, based in 147 countries. Not
Wow.
all of those are production facilities, but
Sure,
we
sure.
have offices and stuff. And but we do have a machine shop, which I have not had the pleasure to tour yet. That'll probably be next year when I go to our main facility in Pullman, Washington. Then that's where they actually use some of those that machining kind of aspect of it, to build our cabinets. We
Okay.
also rely on our Mexico facility to build our cabinets as well. So it's we are more towards the actually taking the raw products and putting them together, assembling them
Right.
together.
So assembly
So
line, basically straight up full on assembly.
yes, and so we are more reliant on, our people than like actual machines. So
Sure.
a lot of stuff is still done by hand because, one of the things we want people to understand is that we need to build trust with our people. We can't over rely on, these complex systems and complex machines. We got to bring it back to basics and rely on the best machine ever built, and that's just your hands.
Hands on, right? I love hearing that. I mean, all this AI stuff or automation that is big in manufacturing now or whatever. It's I definitely think it has pros and cons to it. It definitely has its place. AI is a tool, so is all the other things. But I mean, when it comes down to brass tacks, hands-on human beings doing the work is still, I mean, it's proven and true. So
Hmm.
how many production lines do you guys have at your facility, or how many employees are with you guys?
So currently, our facility is going through quite a big expansion,
Oh,
because
awesome.
we have grown to be one of the biggest departments within the company within, I think it's 5 years.
Mhm.
So within 5 years, we grew from about, 300 people that started out, and now we're up to around 15, 1600 people. And
Wow.
yeah, and our facility has probably around 65 people right now.
Okay.
Um, and by the end of the year, we want to have a little over 100 people. And then going into next year, we want to expand, and um, we kind of kicked out our PMs and our engineers, and kind of put them in a different building so that we can expand and utilize the fullness of our building, which is very interesting time because in about around next year we want to have around 140 people working in the facility.
That's
And
awesome.
oh yeah, it's gonna be a ride, um
Absolutely. Sounds like it.
the best part about it, and the reason why automation doesn't work for our side of the process, is that every build we get, so each project, each cabinet is called a build.
Right.
So each build we get is completely different from every other one.
Okay.
Every
Makes
You
sense.
get different devices, different setups, different wiring. It's so high variability that there's no way we could automate it. It's
Right.
got to be done by hand.
Huh. So that's I mean, okay, so now since we're talking, this is maintenance and programs or whatever else, what do you guys do when you have it, like what kind of issues do you run into and what do you guys do to resolve those issues? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Um, a lot of the times the tools we work with are mostly hand tools, a few power tools here and there. Um, but if we have an issue, a lot of our devices are calibrated. So we are running kind of on capacity with our calibration team over in the our corporate office. So they kind of given us a way that we can kind of calibrate or test our own material. That way we don't have to send it out to be tested. So we have very strict guidelines. Um,
Mhm.
so for torque screwdrivers, um, we have a way to define like, okay, these need to be checked every so often. If this happens to it, if it falls more than 4 feet from the ground, it's got to be checked because you can knock
Right.
something. And we just have so much information for our operators to go by that if there's something wrong with their tools, they can bring it to us. So a lot of the times, part of the maintenance aspect is also making improvements when you can.
Right.
One of the tools we work with pretty often is heat guns, to shrink our heat labels and stuff like that. And
Sure.
um, we're actually exploring newer options with the in respect to that because the ones we use they're very expensive. They don't have the full capability that we want them to have.
Mm,
There's some safety aspects that are, in wanting, and we want to make some improvements. So a big part of our maintenance, since we don't have maintenance in the traditional sense, a big part of our maintenance is just continuous improvement.
right.
Making incremental adjustments, making things a little bit better, so that there's a bigger gap between we need to make a fix or not.
So with that being said, what was one of your worst case scenarios that you had to take care of and handle where you got
Ooh.
to be the superstar?
That would probably be the heat guns. That was kind of so I'm pretty new to the job. I've been there for 3 months, and within
Mhm.
3 months of being there, they gave me my first big continuous improvement project, and I'm like, okay, because one of the things that I had to get used to was that you're not just doing it for your facility. You have to coordinate with about 5 other facilities that are also using the same things and say, hey, we all need to come to a comparable decision together.
Right.
So you
I
got to
bet
do
that's not
tests.
easy either.
Oh my gosh, no, it really
Right?
isn't. Because right now, our we just increased our lead time from, I think it was 8 weeks. We're now up to 13 weeks
Wow.
because there is so much backlog coming through that we are finding ourselves at capacity in a lot of our
Mhm.
facilities, which means that our team is having a time trying to just get their regular work done as well. So it's hard to make those improvements when you're like got 15 other things. But so it's you got to kind of round people's attention back onto something.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, you got to
we
focus. You got to step by step, or else, you have 15 different things going on at once. It's never going to get done. So, yeah,
mhm. And but that was the biggest one because the problem we were having was heat guns were being left on and people weren't noticing. They couldn't
mhm.
hear it, and they didn't have a trigger switch, so they would just stay on indefinitely, and
Well, it's a
people
fire
would burn
hazard.
themselves. Oh yeah,
Right.
if somebody accidentally like set their arm down, then it's just all of a sudden you just smell burnt meat in the building, and it's like,
Ugh.
oh my gosh.
Yep.
And we've had some incidents where people burn themselves or left heat guns on and it melted the holsters, and it's
Yep.
just we wanted a better solution. So it took a lot of sourcing. It's very difficult to find a heat gun that has a trigger switch
Okay.
for whatever reason. I
Whatever
have no
reason.
idea. Whatever reason. I was able to finally source one, and luckily it kind of coincided with a visit from our corporate office where we had a bunch of people coming down, including one of the leads on that project.
Okay.
So me and him were kind of collaborating on that when he came down and discussing some pros and cons and some kind of future state looking stuff about how we want this to be. Um, so that was kind of, the biggest issue I've dealt with so far. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of other issues, and one of the big maintenance things is our devices, because we technically buy our devices from our own company.
Okay.
Um, so if there's we break one of our devices and it requires maintenance,
Mm.
we will fall in line with everybody else, at the end of the line with everybody else to
Yeah.
kind of get our stuff back. So we kind of come up with some creative solutions about how we can, you know, work around certain areas or implement different solutions. So,
Hmm.
it takes so much, you know, collaboration and understanding of the process. And it's something I'm still kind of grabbing a hold of, because it's just, this is a new type of working environment for me. So I've never had to go and say like, I gotta go talk to an engineer. The engineer says, go talk to the designer, and then the designer goes like, go talk to the PM. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
I talked to everybody.
it's a process, right?
All right, now go talk to your mom, 2 states away. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I hear that. That's wild. But I mean, at the end of the day, all this stuff needs to get done, and again, it's stuff that people don't realize that actually goes on in the background. I mean, these things do have to get assembled, these things do have to get installed, these things do have to get taken care of, and there's a process usually for all those things. So it's pretty neat. So when you talk to, this is one of the questions I really like asking everybody. When you talk to your family and friends or whatever else about your job and what you do, what is the wow factor? Like, what do people usually come back with and say, what you do? What? I mean, that's, that they would never have thought of that, or didn't realize that it takes what you do to do what you do. Wow, that's a lot of doo doo.
um, One of the biggest things, and it was a wow factor for me, and it's still something I'm still figuring out, is the company is 100% employee owned. So
Wow.
every assembler on the floor owns a piece of the company. So when you're, talking to, somebody that works for you, you got to remember in your head, like, this isn't just an employee. You're talking to a partial owner as well.
All right.
And one of the things that they emphasize there is people development. And it was really strange, because I come from a place where it's like, you know, swinging in and swinging out, people just kind of rotating through.
Sure.
This place, I've seen, you know, people go through retraining or, re-education about 3 or 4 times. And I'm
Wow.
like, wow.
Yeah.
And they're like, because it's important to us. If they can't get it, we want to make sure we give them every opportunity to get through it. We want them to understand. And only when we reach like the very limit of what we can possibly give this person will we do it. And I've seen that in practice, and it's like, wow.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. That's stacking real cool. So what so outside of what you do at work, what do you do for hobbies? You got anything fun you do outside of work?
Um, I do. I used to do. I'm trying to get back into some of my old hobbies. I used to do some computer programming, and I used to do
Okay.
some welding. I still like to do reading. I like to read, but um, I love. I don't have the setup here because I'm in Charlotte in an apartment building, so I don't have the space. But I
Sure.
love to weld. Welding is such an art form, and it's so precise and it's so cool. I just love doing it, because like me, a little bit about me, I don't have the most incredible vision, and I don't have the most incredible hand-eye coordination, But you put me on a welding machine, and that thing's just perfect.
Getting it done.
Yeah.
Melting metal and putting it together. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
So it was
there's definitely something to it. I mean, that's I definitely have no idea about welding or how to weld, but I could definitely see how that would be pretty fun. I mean, I've got a friend of mine that actually one of our employees here too. That's I mean, he loves to weld as well. He bought his own rig and all that stuff, and he just
Mhm.
likes to whittle away and create things and whatever else. So it's I mean, it's pretty cool. There's no question about it.
That's about as adult Lego as you can get.
I mean, you know what? I mean, you can't knock Legos. I love Legos. I'm a Lego
Hmm.
head. I just bought literally last night, got two different Legos delivered to the house. So I'm a
Oh,
big Formula
nice.
One guy too. So I got all the Formula One cars now from Lego Technic. So I just got the Mercedes one put together the other day. So now I've got the Aston Martin. So I've got a couple of new ones.
Yeah, we got quite a few Lego people I work with as well. My mentor being one of them. He loves Legos.
Yep.
We just got a bonus a couple days ago, and he's like, first thing he did was like, wonder what I'm gonna go buy at the Lego store. And then his birthday's around the corner, so he's consistently like just sending his wife like
Hints.
pictures and videos like, hey, just letting you know these are some cool Legos that I
Yep.
found.
Yep. That's awesome. That's funny. Hey, I'm a Lego head, so it's great. I mean, we like to build, we like to create, and there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think. So
Nope.
anyway, Lucas, I appreciate you coming on the show, chatting with us, telling us about what you do, and shining some light on some of the things that we didn't know about. So really, truly appreciate that. And again, if people want to get a hold of you and find you, what is the best way to do that?
You can always go to my LinkedIn. You just throw my name in there, and there'll probably be about 500 other Lucas Richards. But if you you kind of go through there, you'll find mine. It's so again, I work for SCL, or Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories. So you can always filter through there. I'm up in Charlotte, so we also have tours and stuff of facilities,
Oh,
and
wow.
we really focus on community outreach, and kind of that that's kind of one of our mottos is the best way we sell is by educating others. So
Absolutely.
if you want to reach out and kind of see what we're about, you can always kind of just message.
Oh, now my computer decided we're having a little technical difficulty here.
You.
There we go. Sorry, my computer glitched or internet went down, or maybe one of the electrical boxes here in town was had a little blimp going on, or they're not using your guys' products.
Oh yeah, that's definitely not using our products. I'm just
Well, again, thanks a lot. You
Mhm.
take care, and thanks again for being on the show and sharing with us.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to Maintenance and Manufacturing Insights with Martin Engster. Want to be featured on the show? Head over to maintenancemanufacturinginsights.com/guest to apply and share your story with the industry.